Good couple communication is the hallmark of every good, strong, healthy relationship. Many don't even realize their communication is suffering until it's too late. It's amazing how many people seem to get by with insufficient communication skills in marriage. How they manage to get away with it for so long is quite the mystery, but let's save that for another vlog. If you're watching this video, it's because A, you value good communication, B, you've managed to live with poor communication for quite a while, and it's only really affecting you right now, or C, you are a very strong believer in prevention and you want to make sure that you are keeping your relationship strong and healthy. Now, let's talk about how you know if your communication is suffering. If your communication is suffering, you might be A, struggling to get your point across, B, unable to hear what your partner has to say to you, C, you might not be able to agree on how to get things done, or D, you might be feeling that your partner doesn't care about you. The reasons you might be feeling this way may be because of any of the following communication difficulties. The first might be because you're unclear about what point you're trying to get across. The second might be because there might be multiple points that you're trying to get across at the same time. And the third might be because you struggle with assertiveness or anything that feels even slightly confronting. And the fourth might be because you just can't hear your partner's perspective or they can't hear yours. And the fifth is because you might struggle with holding on to your own opinion while trying to understand somebody else's. In other words, it's hard for you to acknowledge that there are many possible valid opinions out there. If you're struggling with any of these communication difficulties, you might be really suffering. I just want to let you know that you are not alone. So let's tackle each of these issues separately. The first one is you're unclear about the point you're trying to get across. It's a real challenge when you feel in your gut that something isn't right and you want to express this to your partner. It is so frustrating when this happens. The reason this happens is because you're often overwhelmed by something your partner said to you that's just thrown you right off. You might be used to being told that your opinion doesn't really matter. Either way, your brain has just been hijacked and you just can't think straight. And the important thing to do is to be able to take a deep breath, tell your partner you need a moment to consider your position, and the most important thing not to do is to lunge into a crazy lunatic tirade. Now, I know you want to do that. I've been there myself, and that is a huge mistake. Take that break before you make that important point. The second challenge, trying to get multiple points across at the same time. Now, lots of people get overwhelmed as there are so many different things they're trying to hold in their head at the same time. And when this happens to you, you've got to give yourself a lot of time to map it out. I remember when my husband and I were deciding to move from Melbourne to Israel, there were so many different things to consider. And the way that we tackled this was to write each point down so as not to get overwhelmed and to hit each one thoroughly. The point, not my husband, until we were ready to move on to the next. Now this can be super hard as often one issue flows into the next. So you have to fight really hard to stay focused and not get off track. The third issue is if you struggle with assertiveness. Now, you are definitely not alone with this one. Lots of people have a hard time believing in the validity of what they want to say and getting their point across. Assertiveness is an especially big challenge for people who struggle with anger management or who've just grown up surrounded by angry people. No one wants to be angry, and being assertive is that delicate balance that comes between aggressiveness and passiveness. Now, to do the assertiveness thing well, you have to be calm and you have to be clear about your talking points, and you also have to be open to hearing your partner's side. So it's about really holding on to what you want to say calmly while creating space for another viewpoint. The fourth issue is if you struggle with hearing your partner's perspective. You've got to ask yourself why. It's not because you're always right, and if you think your opinion is the only one that matters in the room, then this really needs to be explored. Maybe as a kid you were told that your opinion doesn't matter, or, that would be a huge trigger for, standing your ground more firmly. And imagine if you were told your whole life that your opinion doesn't matter, and you're married to someone who feels that they have to stand their ground really firmly, and they have a hard time hearing you because of their own issues, then you're going to be really feeling the need to revolt and to choose to stand your ground that much more firmly. And the more you have this whole I'm right, you're wrong dynamic playing out, the more you're going to feel unheard and uncared for as you cancel each other out. So you need to explore what is really fueling this need to be right in order to unhook yourself from it. The fifth reason, the fifth issue is that you might not be able to hear your partner's opinion because of some sort of overwhelming feeling inside of you, which is very common for lots of people. And they have a hard time holding on to two competing thoughts at the same time. Now, if this is the case for you, you might realize that your partner isn't just out to get you, but just that he might see things a little bit differently. So you need to work through the overwhelm, and you might have experienced some sort of trauma that might be making your head feel a little cloudy, and that makes you feel overwhelmed quite readily. Remember, lots of people struggle with all of these issues that I've mentioned. It's not that you aren't communicating or don't want to communicate. There are simply things that just get in the way, like overwhelm or lack of belief your opinion is valid, or lack of belief that anyone cares to hear about your opinion. If any of these issues ring true for you, then be sure to get help to uncover any of the underlying issues that are getting in the way of communicating effectively with your partner. And when you can get to the bottom of your communication challenges and you can turn things around, you're going to feel so much better for it. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe, hit the bell, and it's going to go right into your inbox every time I post a new video. And if you have any thoughts about this, feel free to post your comments below.